The jewelry industry is undergoing a sustainability revolution, one that asks us to rethink not only how we make, but what we make with. As we confront the environmental cost of traditional materials and processes, a new generation of researchers is exploring regenerative alternatives that challenge the very foundations of luxury and permanence. My guest today is one such pioneer. Simone Van Den Broek is a lecturer and researcher whose work with mycelium, a living organism more commonly associated with fungi, pushes the boundaries of what jewelry can be produced from. By cultivating what she refers to as living gold, she invites us to imagine a future where we grow our own materials, where adornment is not extracted but nurtured, and where beauty is measured not just by brilliance but by ecological harmony. Simone's practice sits at the intersection of biology, craft, and sustainability. And to discuss how her work aims to be a compelling example of jewelry as a medium for storytelling, regeneration, and radical material innovation, I'm very excited to welcome Simone Van Den Broek.
Hey, hello. Thank you. I'm really excited to speak with you today.
Simone, to start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yes, of course. Yeah, so my name is Simone van den Broek. I'm a researcher from the Netherlands. I'm a design researcher and I'm a specialized in the user acceptance of new technologies. I work at the Center of Applied Research for Art, Design and Technology. And I also teach design research and design for behavior. And within my specialization, I very much focus on new technologies. They often take place within a more kind of lab setting, kind of detached from real users or real environments. And I really focus on how can we bring these new technologies to the real people who eventually can like utilize them, hopefully to make life better and more pleasant.
Before we delve deeper into your research, you completed an MA in industrial design at Eindhoven University of Technology and a BA in communication and multimedia design at Avans University of Applied Sciences. What made you choose these subjects to study? What inspired you to go into this direction?
Well, already in high school, I really liked making things, implying theoretical aspects into like real life environments. And I think that's what really attracted me to my bachelor's communication and multimedia design, because you really go and explore there all different kind of mediums, how they work, how you can make them, but also how people interact with them and what kind of influences you can have. Of course, communication is a lot of information as well. Having access to good information helps you make better decisions. Just the way we communicate them and make it more easier also can help improve the quality of people's lives. And in the same way, the multimedia mix that you implement this kind of communication or information can make the transfer of interaction or information better. That really attracted me. Then after I completed my bachelor's, I felt that I was still curious. Of course, you can go into the working space, but I felt like I wanted to learn a little bit more. So I went and searched for an interesting place to continue my studies. And that's where I found the Master's in Industrial Design at Eindhoven University. And there I did the specialization track in design research, which I absolutely loved. It's just exploring, asking questions, utilizing design to kind of find informations, bits and pieces, and combining these together to hopefully make the best design that you can come to. After completing my master's, I felt like, okay, now I want to put these things into practice. And I really found a good spot where I could also teach and do research. And I've been there ever since.
Today, you are a lecturer and a researcher within the situated Art, Design and Technology Research Group at the Avans University of Applied Sciences in Den Bosch. Could you tell us a little bit more what this role as a researcher entails and what design research is for anyone who might not have come across it?
Design research is kind of utilizing design as a tool to find new insights, find new information on a certain topic. And that topic can be absolutely anything. I am part of the situated art design and technology group, and the situatedness of our practices is really looking at a certain location, a certain group of people, and really finding out, okay, what are the circumstances on that location with these kind of people? What do they need? What are the challenges they encounter? And all these pieces of information we use to come up with a design, but we also utilize design to come to the insights that we use. So we both use design as a tool to find insights, and we use those insights to design the best solution for the question that we are asking. The questions that we or the challenges that we work on are very diverse. And I think that what makes it so much fun. You're never really working on one certain specific topic. It's always a combination of different topics, different people coming together, working together, because that's what real life is like. You have different kind of people. Everybody has different kind of view on things, a specialization in things. So it's also very much a collaboration of curious people coming together and working together to come to a good design.
One of your projects is titled Living Gold, exploring the application of mycelium for jewelry, and it aims to promote new possibilities for bio-based design. How did this project come about, and what have been some of the outcomes of that research?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how that project started. We have a different kind of research group within Avans University. It's called Next, and they're very much focused on sustainability questions and challenges. And one of the projects they are working on is mycelium. And mycelium are the root network of fungi, and how they can combine this with a substrate, and this mycelium combined with a substrate becomes an insulation material for the construction industry. One of the benefits of utilizing this mycelium substrate is that it is more circular. It can be more easily deposited off when it's not needed anymore. And it has like equal kind of like the insulation benefits are the same as the traditional materials on the market. But traditional materials are often very bad for the environment, mostly made out of plastics. So mycelium is a very nice alternative for this. But then comes the question, they are researching this in the labs, getting all the right qualifications. But eventually, people really have to put this kind of material into their houses, or the building construction industry has to choose mycelium as their material to work with. And that's where I kind of came in, because they have this really nice material. But how are people going to know that it exists, what the benefits are, and how do people kind of react to this material as well? Because it is a fungi. And within my research, I found out there are kind of two very distinct groups. The one group is like they feel that fungi are bad. They're a little bit, I think it's a little bit disgusting. The things that come up in their mind is like things that are rotting. Like for instance, if you forgot your sandwich for too long, it gets like a fungi on it. You cannot eat it anymore. It's something that makes you sick. That's one group. They're kind of a bit taken aback by having putting basically a fungi into your walls as a building material. And another group is very positive right away because they have good associations with fungi. They think it's delicious to eat, some of them. When they walk around in the forest and they see a beautiful red mushroom, they get very happy about it. So you get these two kind of distinct groups. And I did research as to how people react to the material. And I also came up then with the idea that within that research, I saw that the first initiate reaction is either like, I really don't like it, or I think it's very interesting. But after they had like an introduction to the material, they kind of touched it. How we did it, we made insulation cups for a tea set. So people got a little teacup with an insulation material of mycelium around it. And we had like kind of a nice chill tea session where we talked about the material. And everybody after that kind of session, their bad feelings like kind of disappeared. They all got a positive feeling about the material. So very much interacting with the material, feeling it, experience it, caused people to be acceptive of the materials. And they also said that they would want to actively put it into their own homes within construction industry, or they would be fine with it if it so happened to be so. And then I thought, what would be interesting if we can also have another way of implementing this material into something that people really touch and wear closely to them. and that was jewelry design. Another aspect I find very interesting of this is that jewelry often has a significant meaning for someone. It symbolizes something to them. So if you can kind of combine this material together within that meaning, that closeness, then we also become closer to this material through the practice of jewelry, of wearing that.
I love the idea of jewelry as a medium to bring a certain material or innovation closer to people. Really clever as an approach. So, mycelium is a material that grows. How does working with the material differ from working with other materials? Does it require a bit of a mindset change for anyone who's working with mycelium? Could you tell us a bit more about working with it as a process?
Yes, it very much becomes a process of working together. And whereas a designer, you have a certain idea how you would like it to turn out or what you would like the mycelium to do. It's kind of working with this invisible friend because you try to give this friend all the circumstances that makes them feel happy and grow well, a good temperature, good humidity. But even then, when you feel like you've done it perfectly, so it should be very happy, sometimes it does something different. And sometimes that is a result that you're not so happy with, but then you just have to work with this friend again and try again. But sometimes it also gives like very interesting, unexpected designs, which is very fun to play with and work together with this kind of mycelium. So what it does take a little bit of a different mindset, whereas if you design a jewelry piece, you probably know I want it to look exactly this way, and you can try to kind of go to that perfect design. You have to have a lot of good skills to get there. But when you're working with mycelium, you have to be a little bit more lenient on that perfect design because this invisible friend also has an input, and maybe they have another idea, and you have to kind of work together with that.
Looking back, you've been making jewelry with mycelium. What are do you think the key benefits to jewelry artists working with a material like mycelium, collaborating, growing materials? Is mycelium the new gold?
I think one of the biggest benefits is that it helps you play. It makes it very playful. Your design process becomes very like fluid, and yeah, it becomes very fun to do as well. And I think what also is really nice is bringing kind of this where jewelry is very has a very longevity. It can go for multiple generations, and putting this kind of living material in it makes it also a little bit more flexible, and also different generation can experiment with it again, and it's shaping it to maybe a certain period of time or a certain fungi that is interesting at that moment. And also if our environment changes, the way the fungi grows also changes. So it could also become a statement of the different generations that kind of work or play with that kind of a jewelry piece. I would be very much interesting if we have like a setting that has been used for mycelium, and maybe in like 50 years, someone will go and replace the mycelium on the setting, how it will maybe differ from how it looks now or how the techniques they would have used. I'm very much looking forward how that will develop.
You've made quite a few pieces of jewelry. What have been the responses to the pieces so far?
Yeah, I tried a lot of different things because there are some other people that experimented with mycelium before in the context of jewelry, but there hasn't been much exploration on different kind of mycelium settings, if we put it that way. So the first step I did was kind of experiment, okay, what kind of settings work well for this invisible friend? Where are they happy? How do they attach to it? And that gave a different kind of designs. The overall response to the jewelry is that people at first don't realize that it's a fungi in there. They're, they see that it's something different and something new they haven't really seen before, the material. But the first thought is not that it's mycelium. So I think that's very interesting. And then when you talk a little bit about it, that it's mycelium, that it's the roots of a fungi and how we grow it and the process, people get very intrigued. And I got a lot of yeah curious questions, and also like, why did you do that? How did you do that? Can I do that myself? So it's been really fun to explore. Also at the Dutch Design Week, we did an exhibition where a lot of different people are coming, people that are into jewelry design, but also people from other design disciplines and people that are not in design at all. And it's fun to see all those different kind of questions and the curiosity behind the material. And I think that's ultimately my goal as well. I really want people to become curious about the material, explore it, and kind of experience that it's not that different, or that it's very, yeah, interesting to kind of delve more in these like alternative materials, natural materials, compared to our traditional materials that are have like a more bad imprint on the environment.
I imagine as a maker as well that thinking suddenly differently with a material can lead to inspiration for shapes and for other processes. Did that happen to you as well when you were working with mycelium?
Yeah, like for when I was growing different shapes to set, I was exploring like if you have a cabochon stone, can we make a mycelium cabochon stone? I first had some made some molds, which I thought it would be very happy in. It didn't really want to grow, and I still don't really know why. That's also a difficult thing because it cannot tell you why it's not happy. It's all about experimentation, tweaking little things, seeing what works and what doesn't. And it also made me like more explore more custom molds, because I made some custom molds and then they were quite happy in that. So it also kind of drives you to explore more with custom design and really jumping into how the material acts and reacts on your design, and then working together to that point that you are happy with it.
What have been one of the most interesting applications of mycelium that you have come across that you think would be interesting to connect also with the jewelry field?
Mycelium is also used within they make coffins out of it. So in memorial jewelry, sometimes they use hair or ashes of people within jewelry. But in this aspect, you also could use maybe a certain little part of this mycelium coffin and incorporate it within a design as well. And an interesting part about that as well, you can implement mycelium where it stays intact for a long time, but you can also implement it in a way where the outside environment can kind of affect it and weather it down. And in that way, it can be kind of a conceptual visualization of how losing someone is a process that you go through, and it becomes, yeah, it changes you, it changes over time. It becomes a little bit easier over time often, but it doesn't never go completely away. I think that's very interesting how mycelium kind of, yeah, can be a conceptual storyteller of that kind of process.
Oh, you wrote a super interesting article about your research in the Journal of Jewelry Research, and you regularly present your work at conferences. What benefits do these dissemination activities bring?
I think there are multiple sides to that. I really enjoy presenting and seeing the reaction of people and the new ideas they have. They also the questions or the input they give me a lot of new ways to explore. So as a researcher, it's really nice to kind of like tap into the inspiration of all those amazing people you have around you at that moment. And then also the other side, of course, I'm trying to bring something new that hopefully also can inspire other people. So that's also what I really like to see, that other people get kind of inspiration out of it and try to implement it into their own practices or come up with new ideas. And you get this kind of like synergy between people just sharing information, sharing new ideas, and building further upon that. And I think that's one of the most lovely places to be at. Yeah. Yeah, I always love when I get to go to the conferences after I've done a paper. Like the writing is not really, it's not the most fun part in my opinion.
The writing of a
Yeah,
paper is often daunting to craftspeople. How do you overcome that in your practice?
yeah, for me, yeah, the writing is the most difficult part and also the less fun. But it's kind of the necessary evil needed to communicate and bring it out there. And then, of course, going to a conference after, being able to meet other people, that's what keeps me motivated. And eventually I get it done.
Yeah, in a way, the writing sometimes gives some new clarity and insight into the work as well, right?
Yeah.
It's not everyone enjoys writing, but I think it can be a good tool. To any jewelers listening, Do you have any tips for anyone wanting to use alternative materials, mycelium or other? Where do you start? Are there any resources or strategies you recommend? Because it would be nice to see more people work with these alternative materials.
Yeah, I think my number one piece of advice would be find something that you are passionate about, that sparks your interest. And it doesn't matter how far it is from your original practice or how absurdly it maybe might sound to other people. If you think it's interesting to explore, go and explore. And try to find maybe people that have done something with the material before, can be in a totally different context. Like I started in like a construction industry, but just go explore and talk with them, see what they are doing, the information they have already out there, and try to see if you can work together and kind of get to like that synergy of working together on that topic. Don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions. Maybe you'll have to explain a couple times why it is interesting to combine these practices together, but really follow your own passion in that. Yeah.
And then your work clearly touches on sustainability. You're mentioning that you're part of a group that focuses on sustainability initiatives. Are there any changes now that you've looked sort of into the jewelry industries that you would like to see materialized in the near future so that we have a more sustainable jewelry field? What are the topics? Maybe,
Mhm.
you feel that the field needs to tackle most urgently.
One thing I saw is that in our field, there's a little bit of a following that wants things to keep more traditional and the way it has been for a long, long time. And that's, of course, very logical because we have made beautiful things over all the centuries. But I'd like to ask them to also be a little bit more open-minded to new things. And that new things don't mean that other things are going to be replaced or disappear. It's in addition to what we've already done in the centuries before, and how we can explore that a bit more and be a little bit more open-minded about that.
Yeah, I often think it's about value as well, isn't it? So we've got these sort of social constructs around what is valuable and what isn't valuable, and the willingness to be open to look at those materials perhaps from a sustainability point of view, and then adjust the value accordingly, I think would be a good exercise to conduct in the field more than just following traditions.
Yeah, I also think like human beings are an evolving species always, so also our values will be ever changing. And I think that brings more innovative ways to play with things and to explore.
Is there anything you are currently working on that you are happy to share that we may be looking forward to seeing or reading from you in the near future?
I'm kind of working on two different projects. They might seem, again, a little bit detached from each other because they're very much in different fields. But like I said, I really like to play with bringing different fields together and making it a more realistic setting. One of them, of course, we currently have a very big AI boom, which promotes a lot of sedentary behavior. And I'm currently exploring how we can kind of utilize this boom to also promote more mental and physical exercise. So really use this AI boom to maybe use it when you're walking or doing sports. That's one of the aspects I'm exploring. So it's a bit more out of the nothing with jewelry. But then on the aspect of jewelry design, I am exploring how I can kind of come up with a method or a certain tool set that enables people to implement mycelium in their own jewelry practice outside of a lab environment. Because currently I've been working in a lab environment, and of course that has a lot of benefits, but no, not everybody has a lab to go and work in. And there are definitely ways where you can kind of work with mycelium and jewelry on your own kind of kitchen table. If you just clean it very well, there are certain ways that you can bring them together, the mycelium and the jewelry. So I'm really looking at how I can kind of make that more accessible for people.
To me, as a jeweler, the idea of introducing mycelium in the practice, that sounds very interesting. When can we hear more, Simona? What should we look at? Where should we look for information? Where will you publish it so that we are the first to know?
Yeah, you can always follow me on LinkedIn. I always share when I've come up with a new idea there. Also, I have an Instagram where I post some things that I make, but it's more artistic exploration. yeah, I think that would be the best places to follow me. And otherwise, just Google my name within the different schoolery paper databases.
Translating sustainable ideas into tangible change is one of the most pressing challenges facing all of us and the jewelry industry today. As Simone's work shows, this transformation can involve reimagining our relationship with materials, not as a finite resource to be extracted, but as living systems to be cultivated, even sometimes over time. Her research into mycelium as a bio-based material offers a glimpse into a future where jewelry is not only beautiful, but symbiotic with the planet. Growing our own materials may sound radical, but it's a powerful metaphor for the kind of care, patience, and collaboration that sustainability demands. And it's not just about reducing harm, it's about nurturing new possibilities. Simona's practice reminds us that innovation can be quiet, organic, and deeply rooted in nature. Thank you, Simona, for sharing your journey, your insights, and your vision for a regenerative jewelry practice. We're really grateful for your contributions, for sharing everything that you learn, and for the time to speak to me today.
Thank you, Sophie. I had a really great time talking with you.
Next month, I'll be joined by another inspiring guest, so stay tuned to find out who it is. For now, this was Sophie Boons for the BHA podcast episode titled Living Gold with Simone Van Den Broek. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.